Good evening, my name is Mary Maslowski. I'm the Chair of the Historic District and Historical Commission for the Town of Harwich. We are calling to order our meeting of Wednesday, December 15th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the small hearing room at Town Hall. The first matter of business is if anyone in the audience is choosing to audio or video record the meeting, we ask that you notify the chair at this time. Here-
That's all right.
I'm sorry?
I was gonna do an audio recording if that's all right.
So if you're doing an audio recording, you'll need to just provide a copy to us.
I'll hold off though.
All right. We are being video recorded, so it is all going to be up on the website. Okay?
Perfect, thank you.
Sure.
Excellent. Turn around.
We will start with a roll call. So Julie,
Julia Eldridge.
Lynn Zalasak.
Brendan Loney.
and as I said, Mary Maslowski, the chair. We will get started by opening the first items on our agenda of public hearings. So the first matter is case number HH 2021-14. Gregory Winston and David Plunkett, owner applicant, seek a certificate of appropriateness to demolish the existing residence and construct a new residence with associated improvements on the property. The subject property is 109 Parallel Street, map 41, parcel N3-A, located in the Harwich Center Historic District. So, Greg, could you walk us through your application? Let's start.
I will do the best I can.
Perfect.
So, 109 Parallel Street, I believe, I hope you all have it in your packets. You should have a picture of the existing structure. I believe it was built in 1971. It's a ranch, and it sits sort of in a how do you call it, a swale hole kind of thing. It's not terribly visible from the street as it exists today, and it's set back quite a bit from the street. It's a two-family duplex. It was built by Mr. Coleman, who was a developer in town in that time period, in the late 60s. And what it is right now is on one side of the building, there's a two-bedroom, one-bathroom apartment, and on the other side of the building, there's a three-bedroom, two-bathroom apartment, and underneath the building, there's a six-car garage, which I say garage because my partner happens to be addicted to automobiles, so we have a garage full of cars. What we propose to do is to take the existing structure down because the shower that I shower in every morning is actually avocado, and the fiberglass in the shower is so worn that you can't scrub the soap scum off the walls of it, and then the rest of it is in pretty much the same condition. It clearly makes no statement to the street at this point in time, and it's not, in my opinion, appropriate in any way. It has no historic value at all, and the only thing about it is, of course, some of the panel doors and some of I'll probably never get, the better building materials that they used when they built the house. But unfortunately, the way the house is, it's just not, it's not where I want to retire, let's put it that way. So what we've tried to do is to design something that's more of a federal colonial, and we've been working with the planning department, and I think we have a report from the planning department actually. I would love to bring the house closer to the street, but in order to comply with the zoning bylaw set forth by the planning board, we are only allowed to go so many feet in height in order to bring it to, into regulation. So consequently, the house will be slightly brought forward and slightly moved to the west. I had our engineer out there day before yesterday, Dan Fruteau, and he's cited the new building for the property. The new building will be
higher. My biggest problem was trying to figure out how to make the building more appropriate and have some influence on the neighborhood, but at the same time, given the topography, it goes into a slope of a pole, and you have to start with basic topography in order to build up from that. And the town of Howard, the way it's laid out right now, allows only the 30 feet. So we have to stick to the 30 feet. So we're trying to work into the topography so that it will be visible, not as visible as I'd like it to be, but I can't pull it forward. If I do, I would not make that bylaw. I wouldn't be able to make the bylaw. There is a possibility that we might have to actually even remove. If you look at the plans carefully, you'll see that it looks like what is a widow's walk on the top. That's not really a widow's walk, it's a faux widow's walk. We put that up there because the building is actually square. And federal colonial would typically be a little bit more rectangular than square. And by putting that design effect on the top, we were able to make that faux widow's walk rectangular, to make the building look rectangular, if you know what I'm trying to say. In order to give us the space down below for the garages. And I've also designed the building so that, because I don't know if I'm gonna live long enough to see it built, but if I do. There's a lift on the back that actually allows us to bring groceries and things from the garage up to the second and third floor. But it's not an elevator, it's a lift, so it will have no height on it that goes beyond the eave of the building. So it's not like the library or the 328 Bank Street structure where they actually had to put another story on the building for the lift. So that's pretty much the way that we've laid it out. I've given you the colors. Colors are the colors that I had on my old Winstead when I owned it years ago, which is a very, very, very pale yellow with dark bottle green shutters and the white trim.
So I'll just start with a couple of questions. You mentioned that you can't go higher if you bring it forward. You're not seeking.
I'd love to bring it forward.
You're not gonna go to planning board and request any waivers or go to zoning board of appeals. I'm only asking because I want to throw it out there. If you are, then you know you would have to come back to us at a later date. So I don't want you to have to do this twice if that's.
Given what I've been through with the planning board, I will say absolutely, I'm not even going to.
Okay.
I'm not even attempt it.
Okay. So, and then, I'm sorry if I missed it. What are you proposing for materials on the front?
The front would be red cedar clapboard.
Okay,
The sides would be white cedar shingles,
okay,
if they're available. They aren't right now, but if they are available. We're not planning to start this until October,
okay. And
September, October.
and windows,
The windows are all Marvin,
okay,
and they're all highlighted as you see them on the plans. True divided lines.
okay.
Month.
All right, so that's all I just wanted to start out with initially, just to make sure we're all on the same page as far as what your permitting plans were with us. As a reminder, we're under a certificate of appropriateness. This is in the historic district. So I will turn it over and ask Brendan if there's anything you want to, any questions you have or any comments you want to make.
I think, no, thanks for the presentation. I had a chance to read the town planner's note, and I did agree with a lot of it. You know, even though there's a lot of Greek revival on that road, maybe something different and mimics the town hall. I thought it was a pretty interesting concept. But yeah, I think it's great.
Lynn?
No, I love the look of it. I really love the look of it. It's classy. I think it'll fit in very well.
Julie?
Nothing, I think it's a nice improvement to the area. So.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, hearing none, does that mean we are ready to close the public hearing?
Oh, one last question. It stays a two-family, correct?
Yes.
Just curious.
It's a, pre-existing
Yep.
duplex. So you will never know.
Right.
If you look at it today, you might think so because it's so long.
Mm-hmm.
The new building will be, actually square. I think it's something like 10 feet, shorter, but it'll be taller.
Right.
And the main front door goes in and then the apartments go left and right.
No, that's great. No, it's a great
So you
look.
would never know that it was a
You
two-family.
didn't really tell from this.
No, I have one question. Brendan, do you have, John Edmonds' notes? Because I would like to read them into the record.
They're
If he's
right,
commented. Considering he's
right
commented.
there. They're on the other, they're
I don't,
front and back.
I don't see it.
It's in the packet.
Why do I not see it? I apologize, because I'm on about 3 hours of sleep from last
Here it
night,
is.
so. Okay, so just for the record, I just want to read these notes into the record. From the town planner, there's comments from 12/2/2021, and it says the above referenced proposal represents a good opportunity to better define the Harwich Center Historic District and strengthen the streetscape on Parallel Street. The bulk height and massing of the proposed residence is similar to that of other buildings in the district, including other surrounding sizable buildings in the vicinity of Bank Street and Parallel Street intersection. The district is marked by the number of substantial civic and quasi-public buildings it contains, which help define and support the district's constituent streetscapes. The size, height, and setback of the existing residence on the property does not particularly contribute to defining the district or Parallel Street, or in supporting the design or architectural integrity of the district. The substantial nature of the proposed building would do a better job of this, especially if it were set back more closely to Parallel Street, consistent with historic building setbacks. The Greek Revival architecture predominates the district. It is important to recognize other period styles that contribute to the district. One such style represented by Town Hall, the circa 1914 former bank building, is Colonial Revival. The proposed residence with its low-hipped roof and rectangular dimensions recapitulates the style with a nod to Town Hall as a building important to the civic life and history of Harwich, and supports the design coherence of the district. My comments are not intended to serve as a wholesale or non-critical advocacy for a proposal or as a detailed design review. Indeed, I agree that there are specific architectural features proposed warranting particular scrutiny by the Commission in its appropriateness review, e.g. the Widow's Walk. Further, the applicant will have to confirm that the proposed residence is consistent with the dimensional requirements of the town's zoning code, including maximum height limitations. As a general matter, however, it is my opinion that the proposed residence has the potential to strengthen the district and the Harwich Center Village, as outlined above, which aligns with the town's planning goals. So, thank you for that. Just wanted to make sure that that was read into the record for you, Greg.
And Mary, that's very interesting that you read that very last paragraph, because I would do anything in the world to bring that house closer to the street.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, the topography of the lot goes deeper into a hole, and I would not be able to meet that height requirement if I go into the hole.
Understood,
So I mean, I'd like to change that, but there's nothing I can do about it.
understood. So with that being said, no comments from the public, any other comments from the board? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close?
The
Second.
motion's made by Julie, seconded by Lynn. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion carries. To close the public hearing. Now, again, we are in a certificate of appropriateness, so the chair would entertain a motion on the underlying application.
Motion to approve case number HH 2021-4 as presented.
Second.
So we say, in saying as presented, including the materials and
We can
design as presented?
We can include that as well, yeah. Which would be the cedar siding.
It's the color of the
Colors.
paint.
Which is in the
Green.
application.
Yep. Okay. So we have a motion made by Brendan, seconded by Lynn, to approve as presented, including the materials and colors as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion carries. So you are all set, Greg.
I would like to thank each and every one of you, and particularly my dear friend right here who took the application and helped me put it all together. And I have to pay you. So I'll come in tomorrow and deal with that.
We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Bye, Greg.
The addition.
Yes.
I think it's already in there, but yes.
All right. So the second item on our agenda tonight is again a public hearing. It is case number HH 2021-15. Benjamin Bourne, owner applicant, proposes a partial demolition of the principal residence on the property, which is over 100 years old, in order to join the new building additions to the rear of the residence. The subject property is 968 Route 28, map 34, parcel W2.
Good evening, I'm Bill Riley, I represent Chris Phillips, who's a builder, working for the board. Extent of the property, notice that the building there next to Lucan. There's an old addition on the back, I'd like to remove the last third of that, and put a modern kitchen in.
Mr. Riley, can I ask one favor? You maybe try and take that microphone, because I'm having a hard time hearing you. And I think for the audience, it will certainly be
Maybe we can put it
easier.
on this here.
Yeah, that'd be great, if you don't mind. It is, and I'm having the same trouble myself. So,
All right, thank you.
for Greg, and I didn't think of it until just now, so thank you.
Yeah, his voice is
Well, you know, usually lawyers don't need one either,
That's
but
right.
in any event, so this is Chris Billick, he's the builder for the Bournes. You know, the Bournes bought this beautiful home, they wanna have a modern kitchen in it. So the idea is they wanna remove the last third of the addition off the back, the L, put a modern kitchen there. And I'm gonna ask Chris to explain the work and what he's found in his investigations of the building.
So it appears that this portion towards the back of this historical building, at one point was either added on. It doesn't have, in my opinion, the historical significance that the main structure, which was built in 1815. So knowing that it's conventional framing, again, the significance, isn't there for what I would consider historical. I don't know if anybody or you all had been by the property. We had marked the side of the building where it is proposed to be cut off. And the drawings, I have the as-built in there as well as the proposed addition.
I think one thing to consider is this is the kind of addition that, you know, that the family that lived there could have made over the years as well. I mean, it's not more, you know, given the additive nature of the building, you know, it's kind of an appropriate modification of that addition, the L on the back.
All right, well, open it up to the board. Lynn, do you have any questions, comments?
You know what year the addition was put on originally?
I don't know. Couldn't find any records. The only indications were the type of framing members that they used inside, which I would consider conventional materials that we'd use today. At least to the backside where it's getting cut off, which was their original, or their kitchen at this point, the prior owners.
What colors are you gonna use on it?
On the exterior, we're gonna match like for like. Everything that you've seen out there, it's white clapboard on the front, white cedar shingles, sides and rear.
Okay.
So I just want to point out, again, this isn't a historic district.
Right,
So this is a demolition, a notice of intent of the demolition delay bylaw.
right.
So really, when it comes to
I-
colors, we're,
Yeah, I'm just,
Yep.
don't want anything bizarre going on the other end of it.
So, and we're happy to offer up what our plans are too.
Okay. And that's all I was wondering about.
Julie, anything?
I don't think so, because you're not really gonna see it, because it's in the back of the house, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Right. Impact from the street is
Yeah.
minimal.
I,
That's what I just had called up on Google Maps, just to double check. I had driven by and wasn't able to really see anything. I wanted to see if there were other angles that, on the.
and it's not gonna be
Google Maps
higher
that
than the existing dwelling
No.
either, it's gonna be lower than it, so.
That's correct.
That's right, yes,
Yeah.
a single
That's
story.
Yeah, the only way you can
So-
really see it is as you're driving up and passing Thayers.
Yeah,
See it
or
from
if you
that
walk in
side.
the yard.
Or up in there, yeah.
Brenda, any comments or
Yeah.
questions?
Nope, I think
Yeah.
I'm good. The fact that the front of the house isn't being touched, I think the back portion,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, speaking about that,
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
That's where we're gonna.
Chris found a picture of the building, which is, might have been submitted with you, it's very blurry.
Right,
But the building used to have, was an inn, the Hilltop Inn, and it had a porch across the front.
right.
And Chris would like to go, the Bournes would like to go to the zoning board, because it doesn't meet the setback now. So it would be a variance request. And wondering if we could say that the Historic Commission thinks that replacing the porch that was there historically for many years was a good idea. So we just thought we'd
So
bring that up.
personally, where we haven't noticed anything relative to the porch, I would personally be uncomfortable doing it right at this point. We certainly can agenda it if you're going to, if you're gonna go to ZBA, we certainly get notices and can comment on ZBA matters, and at that point, it would be noticed in our agenda, it would be able to make a comment on the record.
Yeah, we'll-
But I don't wanna deliberate something that's not advertised.
No, that's fair, and Chris will get you, design plans, to show you what the porch would look
Sure,
like.
now, the only thing I will comment is that the way our demolition delay bylaw is, it's any demolition, it's not just, it's removing a shingle. So unfortunately, because there's no kind of caveat to that.
Yep,
So if any of the construction may require that you'd have to come back for a second notice of intent,
yeah, we probably,
in order to do the construction.
right, so
So I
they're
just
gonna,
point that out, that's one
Yeah.
thing to keep in mind.
well, let me ask you this then, so we have the chicken and the egg thing, so, we'd like you to comment to the zoning board, but until we get permission from the zoning board to do it, should we come here first, or should we go to the zoning board first?
I personally think you're probably better off going to zoning, because I think our turnaround is probably faster on the notice of intent to come back and review. We usually do things in one meeting.
Okay, cool.
So, so you may be easier to do it that route.
All right, great.
You know, and we're generally accommodating if we need to squeeze a meeting in,
Mhm.
and we can get a quorum despite the fact that we're short of members, we're usually happy to try that if needed, so.
All right. Well, that's helpful. Thank you very much.
Plus, we'd see it on the ZBA agenda anyways,
Correct,
when you went.
Right.
correct, so, I did note that picture, so it's interesting, and I believe.
It wasn't there in the sixties.
It wasn't.
No,
Interesting.
it's been gone for a long time. We know that.
I remember it from childhood. I took piano lessons in that house.
Oh,
Did you really?
Mrs. Swanson,
Yeah, yeah.
and it wasn't there then.
That tells you how old the porch
So it's really just removing the third off the back and then just turning it.
That's correct.
Anything else?
I think it looks
Any
pretty.
comments or questions from the public on, the address is, 968 Route 28? Hearing none? Do you? You want to say? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Then hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
The motion's been made by Lynn. Is there a second?
Second?
Julie seconded. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion carries. So the chair would entertain a motion on the notice of intent. Again, here, the request is for the partial demolition under our demolition delay bylaw.
Motion to approve case number HH 2021-15 as presented. You want to put a mention to look out for the zoning?
You can, whatever you'd like to add to it. Do you want to?
Track it. I mean, without seeing drawings, it's hard to. So maybe just leave it as presented.
Okay. So motion's been made to approve as presented at tonight's hearing, which would include the paperwork on file. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Brendan, seconded by Julie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And just give us a heads up when before you go to the ZBA, just so that we'll be on the lookout for it.
Yeah, we will. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Thank you.
Okay, the next matter on our agenda is a public hearing for case number HH 2021-16, Sherry Maya Brazos. Please forgive me if I butcher your name. Owner applicant and proposes a complete demolition of the principal residence on the property which is over 100 years old according to the town's historic property inventory list. The subject property is 53 Oregon Street, map 21, parcel R1. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Please introduce yourself and then walk us through your application, please.
Sure. So you have Sherry and Mike Friese here. We had submitted plans. We recently purchased the home on Freeman Street, and the initial intent was just to do an update. The house clearly needed significant work, and then when we brought our builder and architect in, they made the recommendation that we should look to do a demolition just based on the nature of the project and the work and the inside. From what we understand, there was add-ons. I guess it used to be a dentist office that they added on. It used to be, the way the realtor took us through it was there was a lobby and such that were added on the front that was partially just addressed. I mean, when I looked at the records online, it was showing that it was partially altered. And I don't know what that means essentially, but just generally, the recommendations that we had from the partners that we were looking to work with had made the recommendation that this house needs significant work and cannot really be maintained and up to speed of what we are looking to do.
Both the builder and the architect had real concerns about the structural integrity of the building, and the back side of the house over the kitchen was, the builder was really concerned about how it was built. I don't pretend to have any knowledge of it, but when they dug inside the walls, they were really worried about it.
Brendan, would you like to start?
I just want to make sure, so it's a full knockdown?
The application is for a full up.
Yeah, I just feel like I didn't see the plans.
We have a copy of the plans here if you need them.
Yeah, for some time. Oh, thanks. Oh. Thank you. Does everyone have those, or?
No, I think
No,
you're the only one
not
that has
that.
them. I don't think we got-
I have an extra set here. if anyone needs a copy.
Yeah, it's, yeah,
If you look on,
that's what was missing, so
you,
yeah,
you,
I
if
can
you
show
wanna
it.
look.
I don't have that.
Okay.
Wait a
Right.
minute. No, I don't have them. I don't have
This is
those.
what they wanted.
Yeah, that's what,
But that's okay.
so it's staying
I
the same.
probably have another copy here.
No problem.
There we go.
I think one thing is important to note too that was, that we were made aware of too in the plans was that because the way that the house was structured, this is the additional add-on that was so it's super close to the street. And so the way that the architect had addressed this, thinking that just from the new bylaws and the conforming to it, that the structure would then be, it's essentially just laid over exactly as the house would be without, and fit, so this was the part too that.
So you're
was
taking
added.
that as well, yeah?
Yes. So anything in the dark gray would be just a new overlay of where that was.
And the intent would, for the architectural style, would be to match the existing style and not to do something contemporary.
Essentially, it's the same farmhouse that we're looking to build, just,
So cedar shingle with the second floor being, is that B-board shiplap
V-back?
vertical?
Yeah.
Vertical shiplap?
Yeah.
Yep. Like a V groove or just
I don't know if that's been finalized, that's just sort of the rendering of.
It looks like a big gap, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Just curious, yeah. I didn't have a chance to really look that over, so I
Sure.
probably just ask questions that I
Oh, totally
would
understand.
normally ask, sorry.
Totally understand.
Looking for a picture of the plan.
Are you able to see this?
Can you have a moment, would you email me those plans so that I can put that all in my.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Ah, here we go.
What do you got? Oh, you got
Yeah.
So we have that, that came in the packet.
No, this is in the, yeah, this is in our packet.
Yeah.
This is what I was looking for. So knocking that part out.
Part of it, yeah.
It would actually be a full knockdown and then just taking it on the same overlay, just going up a little bit higher to expand over the same footprint of the existing house, but taking the front part that was added on at 1930, that was a structure that was added on for a dentist. It was a dentist office that was built on top of the house.
So how tall is it going?
How tall is it gonna be?
I don't know that.
So yeah, based on the scale wise of the house, I do take a look at, that you said you don't know if the height is higher or.
The height will be higher than the existing structure. Based on what, yes, it will be higher. I don't know the actual, our builder came down with COVID, so he wasn't able to join us tonight, so apologize.
The demon bug.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It
it's
is
8 feet,
kind of interesting, the heights of this.
8, 16, 17,
So let's start for questions. Lynn, do you have questions? Other questions? I just wanna make sure that we're getting things on the record and on the, for those at home.
we're just trying to figure out the height at the moment.
Right, if it's,
Um,
within all the guidelines and,
It'd be tough to get they're only showing the stories, you wouldn't get them in the
Yeah,
front.
so it looks like about 17 feet so far, but that doesn't include the.
No, it's not
it doesn't
including to the
include
ridge.
the,
See if I can dig it up.
It was our understanding too that it was, at this juncture, it was to apply for the demolition permit and then we could revise plans once we went forward with the building permit.
So your application here is, you're under a demolition delay, so what we decide in that situation is whether the historic nature of the house, the shape and style, is warranted for us to actually impose a demolition delay,
Mm-hmm.
or to allow the demolition to go forward.
Okay,
And anytime it's 100% demolition, we certainly are gonna take a harder look at it because
right.
it happens all the time and, you know, there are always concerns when it's 100% demolition.
Right.
Even more so just because historic homes, you can't get them back once they're gone. So,
Right.
So that's part of the concern that we face. Typically, it is easier for us to kind of give you tools when we know what's gonna go into place.
Right.
And when we can see the details.
Right.
So, that's kind of the rub.
I mean,
You know,
yeah.
a lot of the local architects will actually give us, what their
Oh, here
plans
it is
are
right
in,
here.
to go back in its place. So, so we can have some give and take with the applicants and the builders at that point,
Here.
to try and, preserve some of the look. So for example, we had a house on Bank Street and, if I recall correctly, we had asked them to make some changes to the front of the facade. So we kept a lot of the same look of the
Original house.
landscape, but not the, we lost a little bit of the scale, but we tried to keep some of the architectural characteristics that made
Right.
the home
Sure.
important.
Right.
So that's kind of where we come from in this circumstance.
No, and we applaud the effort and
Yeah.
the intent of the board to keep the historic, it's a great thing. The architect, John Aprea, and I can't speak for him, but he is skilled in making sure that whatever he builds is appropriate for not only the plot, but for the town as well.
So we've looked at the lot coverage is about the same, right? Just a little bit greater in scale on the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they don't
just
need this.
definitely
They don't need-
higher building.
they don't need that.
There's and you said there might be changes as far as detail, like, to expand on that?
Oh, I'm not planning on changes,
Oh, you'd be
but I just know
pretty
during the building
content, yeah.
process, yeah, that's just how
Yeah.
the original layout was and any of the finishes.
I think our intent is to build a classic farmhouse exactly that's there. We are keeping the garage and we just wanted to open up the garage more for like an open space area patio. And so I think it's still all the same footprint, it's just a higher elevation, but a
Understood.
traditional farmhouse.
Understood. Lynn, any questions?
Is there a height limit in that area?
So the height, we have no control over the height, that's all gonna be based on the zoning bylaw.
It should be 30 feet.
Right.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, that's why I was wondering what the height
Height.
of the design was, if you had kept it within that 30 feet or not.
Oh, I think it absolutely, he came down, and our architect and the builder did come down, and there was a house that was built right next door that seemed to be a brand-new home, and so the elevation of that home too it's directly right next door on the right, was to look at that from that perspective as well, and keep things equal.
So again, that would have nothing,
To
that's
do.
not something that we police, that's strictly gonna be the building department,
Right.
when they file the building permit application. And, their height is also based on flood levels and things like that too, so
Right.
they're all factors.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because, if that means, to be within the height limit, if they have to do a redesign,
Mhm.
that would be something we would have to know. So, that was my big question.
Okay, Julie,
that was just mine, I think.
and Brendan, any comments, questions?
I'm just trying to, it's taken away a little bit from the Greek Revival look. It's definitely a more contemporary twist on it. Just lacking the returns. We call the bird's nest coming in, but,
And the little bits like the gingerbread is missing too,
yeah, it's just,
yeah. And this is just the decorative, but it's part of the style.
And when it says on the records too, when it says it's partially historic, that was what I was confused about too, just from that perspective.
So I think that's just a note that when somebody was putting it on, that it was an older building that had probably had renovations to it,
Okay,
done over the years. What we look to is the age of the building. So, clearly it is, any portion of it is over 100 years old, it's gonna be something that comes to us. If there was a question and you thought it wasn't, then you could actually ask us to review the records, and you could make a presentation to us and try and show us that it didn't belong in the demo delay.
okay.
So are there any questions from the public? ready to make a decision on this one, or what's the board's pleasure? If you're still looking for additional information from them, then it would be appropriate to continue to a date certain, or we can close the public hearing if you're ready to make a decision.
It's just hard because it's Bank Street, you
Mm.
know? I think that's what we're struggling with. I mean, I love the design.
Uh-huh.
I think you tried to make it blend into what's going on Bank Street and further down some of the homes. I mean, I know what Bob would say, and if he was here, you know, can it be saved, and did you really do due diligence? And it seems like you have some letters here in support of that.
I think the concern too is that just the way that it is built, it is so close to the street, right? So I don't know if any of you have driven by it, but it's literally the front doors too, where you're
Right there,
sitting.
yeah.
And so the intent was to kind of follow how I understand it, is just to turn the house in the sense of just where it gives a little more privacy and it's more conforming to the new laws is how I understood it. And that's what the intent that was made from there. And we wanted to keep it with the historic farmhouse look that you're seeing. And there's certainly elements we could change if you're not comfortable. I mean, from that perspective, from a historical perspective.
So it also is a street that does have a fairly defined streetscape, right? When you're amongst that
Mhm.
stretch,
Mhm.
they're all close to the road, and
Yeah.
Okay.
and it's kind of part of that. It's part of that look because
Okay.
of the age of those homes and the way they're built. So
I think just
And-
making sure it's a little more the Greek revival look, like your rake boards as they come down, you look at the front of the house, the rake boards,
Yep.
you're missing those returns that come in.
Oh,
If you
okay.
drive down Bank Street, you'll see all the homes have that.
Have that? Okay.
A lot of them, even even the three sister buildings here in the center have that return.
Okay.
Because to me, it does look like, it feels more farmy than Greek revival.
Okay.
So I think if you can bring it closer to the Greek revival look,
Okay.
I think that would be,
Did you,
that would
are there colors you're gonna use?
We would do all white.
Okay.
and what about the orientation on the lot? Is everybody okay with the orientation on the lot? You know, it's something.
that'd be fun.
It certainly.
It's almost on the same
Yeah,
footprint.
It is
that's
close.
fine, that part's
Yeah.
fine.
Would
There
you
isn't
be
much more
willing
you
to put
could
in some
do.
Greek revival details on the
Sure.
Absolutely.
the trim?
Yeah.
Okay, because again, you look at.
I understand.
No,
We
we-
refer to as the Three Sisters,
Yeah.
the Ruggies building and the other two, so.
We love Harwich the way it is and
And-
wanna
and-
make
and-
sure it
and
fits
this
in.
house has it. If you look,
Yeah.
even if your house has that little detail, it's not done correctly, but it's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was probably manipulated over the years,
Yeah.
where sometimes that's almost like 7 pieces of molding or 6 pieces of molding to make that.
Right.
So,
Like,
Just-
I just love that gingerbread right along the front
Correct,
and
yeah.
on the,
yeah, that's a
things.
small detail.
But we could certainly take that back and incorporate that. I mean, we're not stuck on any way from a design perspective. We've been coming down to Harwich for, I don't know,
Yeah.
15 years renting and finally found a place in a location we loved and just wanted to accommodate for a family of 5 that could fit.
Well, I just don't want to take
And-
away from the design you're going for too, because it is a, contemporary farmhouse look,
If we can add elements that bring it closer to how you guys feel, we have no problem doing that.
So, are you folks ready to make a decision?
Yeah, are we gonna get a chance to see these updates?
So if you're making a decision, this is your job.
You can put it in the,
So,
in the
so,
comments.
and that's what I'm saying, if you wanna see some revisions with some details, then it would be to continue the public hearing. Because once the public hearing is closed, we're in a position where we make a decision based on the facts and circumstances in front of us.
What do you think? What do you think?
Yes,
It's the road.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the road.
That's
the
the
long road.
tough part.
Well, it's tough to just say put Greek revival look onto it
Right.
without seeing it. I mean, you can
Right.
do what you want. I mean, in the end, even if this is for Mary, even if we do approve we approve this as presented, they could make changes after the fact anyways, could they not?
So,
Or- We're either saying yes or no.
we're saying yes or no to a demolition
Yeah.
delay. And if we are, if the board wants to require, and request some design changes from the applicants, then this is our opportunity to do it with their consent. So
Yeah.
they would have to be, if they're agreeable to them, then yes, we can include them in our decision.
And what's your timing on the project? When were you looking to start?
Our goal was we were hoping to be in by this summer, but we know that's probably unrealistic at this point. But I mean, our hope is to be in as soon as possible and start the process. Our builder is lined up and ready to go with approvals and what we need to do. I can tell you that I'm happy to make any of those changes. I am not torn on one design or another. I think the architect, we didn't have pictures to build our dream house. Our dream was to have a house down here. And if it's making those accommodations, we
Yeah, we're
can
more than
happily do
happy
that.
To make sure you feel comfortable with it.
I'll be honest with you folks, I am, you know, where their architect isn't here tonight, and it's really hard to, from my perspective, to make a request without him being able to comment back for them. At the same time, it's a hard one, and I'm not usually a fan of full demos, but, you know, I don't know that the design, you know, if they can make the request and do it, I'd be willing to do it tonight. And
So you want to just maybe put it where it's just we do the, you know, the Eve returns on the Greek Revival look to incorporate that? Is there anything else you guys would like to add?
I'm thinking that,
Like I said, it is
that's all we're
really.
seeing on there right now,
Yeah.
you know, so it isn't, on the existing dwelling.
I'm sorry?
That's all we're seeing right now on the existing
Yeah,
dwelling.
it is, yes.
Yeah, for any sort of architecture from that period.
And my question is gonna be to Brendan, you looking at those plans
Mm-hmm.
with the shiplap on it versus, you know, is it really gonna fit in with how they designed their house? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, a clapboard front would be ideal.
Yeah.
With a Greek
Right.
Revival look. So
Right,
we're,
so I'm
now,
just
now
not-
we're changing things.
Right, you know, and that's,
I mean, when you see.
those are a
yeah.
lot of changes, so,
I mean, I can clearly visualize the house, you know,
Mhm.
being in the builder, you know, I could see it, you know, even without the colors on
Mhm.
it. So I can see what you're trying to get, and it is coming off as a very contemporary farmhouse looking with the big glass everywhere.
Okay.
So
Right.
it's gonna be different than what's on Bank Street, but, you know, how you incorporate the Greek Revival look, and then now you just throw in the shiplap, I mean, that's very popular right now.
When you say shiplap, is that the
It's
boarded?
the vertical
The
shiplap.
boarded
Oh,
ship, okay.
So you're doing a second floor vertical shiplap or V-groove
Okay.
look on top, and then lower is gonna be white cedar.
Okay.
You know, it's a,
Looking at Bank Street, there's a lot of clapboard.
There's a lot of
Clapboard.
clapboard. Uh-huh.
and I think it's hard for us to talk about it without them having an opportunity to have their architect, so.
Right. yeah, well, we don't wanna stick you with something, and then the architect's like, well, I don't
Right,
like
yeah,
that.
it's not gonna
You know,
do it,
he's
or
he's
it's gonna
designing
work,
the
or it's
building.
not
I don't
gonna
think
work.
it's not an issue of the architect not doing it for us. It's a longtime friend who's actually done 5 homes for us, and I think he's not gonna say, I'm not doing something because that's not, if it's for us to get into a house that makes sense.
He'd want it to conform and make sure that you felt comfortable that it
So
expressed what Harwich wants to be.
I guess my question for you is, with you not seeing it, like, I mean, you know.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not really stuck on any style house. I'm excited that we found a location that we're thrilled about, and if we can have a family, our families coming down finally and not
So
renting.
if it's more Greek Revival add-ins, if it's changing that shiplap look to more clapboard, we're fine being flexible with it. We want to, you know, accommodate what makes you feel comfortable with it. We just really want to get going because we're paying for it and it's just sitting
Yeah,
there.
so for us to have you come back with drawings a month from now is not that appealing. So if we were to make some decisions
So
tonight,
we could continue to our next meeting, which is January 19th.
and you bring back new drawings, that would be, or we.
And I'm just saying, it would give you an opportunity to see what your architect could make
To
the
do.
front look like with a little more Greek Revival than what you have now.
Okay,
And it would give the board an opportunity to kind of see that as well. and you may not like it, right? I mean.
I honestly will like anything as a house, and I honestly, no, truthfully, and
Well, here's the
I'm just
situation
wondering
where,
about the clapboard
Yeah.
on the big glass around the chimney, like how that's gonna work.
Okay.
That's why he's doing the vertical.
and that is the back of the house too. I just
Yeah.
want that's, you know,
It's the back, but it's still, you're on a corner lot.
You're on a
right?
corner
Right.
lot.
Yeah.
So
It's the right
you're
side,
gonna
right?
see it from both,
From
you're
the
gonna
sides.
see it from all sides.
Yeah, you'll see it on the right side.
So, you know, it's, I don't wanna delay you, but I'm not sure, you know, would you be able to come back on the 19th? Just to give you an opportunity to think about it and.
I don't think it's we want you to feel comfortable with the decisions that we're making. I am comfortable that this architect that we've been working with can give us something that we're excited and can meet your needs.
Okay.
And I am. Again, this is not my dream home, but my dream is to be down here, and
Okay.
that's,
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully,
Yeah, we just don't wanna design it for you.
yeah, no.
That's, you know,
Right.
well, we'd rather you present something, we love it.
And truthfully, we wanted to move in exactly as that house and was hoping to just do it and add another bedroom and a bathroom. And once they looked inside of it, they just said, this is completely impossible. It was so pieced together. All the plumbing is actually on the outside of the walls. There's no foundation. It's just,
Yeah.
it's impossible to do anything with. And there's a chimney right in the middle when you walk down that it's impossible to do. And that's why they came back and said, hey, on the same footprint, here's farmhouse, and, you know, obviously an architect.
so if there were changes that you had just called out, so change the shiplap to clapboard, so it's more architecturally
Traditional.
matching
Tell him
to,
we're leaning towards more of a Greek revival
Yeah.
look, he'll understand
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
And incorporate maybe some clapboard in the fronts,
Mhm.
if the vertical
Yeah.
siding is.
But do you need to see those adjusted plans? I'm just
Really
worried
do.
about another month going by, and if our builder gets pushed back and we lose him, we might be out of business.
Yeah. That's why I asked that question, no, I understand.
We want to make
I
sure
love the
that.
building,
yeah.
it's just
Oh, no,
making
I
sure.
Yeah, we want to make
That's
sure
the
that you feel comfortable with it,
Right.
and I wanted to be, hopefully express it that we love this town for the reason that it is the town that it is. So we're more than happy to make changes, and it's less about John Aprea being happy and more about you guys feeling comfortable and us liking the home. I think we can design that, just
So-
making sure.
So just,
Oh, it's Freeman.
so we could say,
Yeah, but it's where it joins.
Yeah, it's where it joins right there, yeah.
so we could make comments like we were saying about the shiplap on the second floor or something. Have it conform to the first floor. I know, we don't wanna build or design the house for these people,
We
but.
can.
If you want clapboard,
Well, I was just thinking about, Bank Street is such a main
Sure.
street, main
Yeah.
drag
And
in the street.
you're one block off of it, right? So that's,
yeah,
right, it's Freeman and Point.
It's
Freeman
so
Point, yeah.
visual
right,
Sure.
from that spot
right.
that it really, we wanted to conform with the rest of the
With the
street.
street. Right. Certainly understand.
Yeah.
It looks like he's thinking.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, cause I like the house, I like the
I do
design.
too.
Oh, I do too, but
So with those changes,
Gotta be a
the
match.
Georgian
I just think if you
accents,
go-
the
yeah.
clapboard,
If it
I
wasn't
think
so
you have a challenge on the
contemporary
right side with the
looking,
clapboard, aesthetics, maybe it working, maybe he can work some magic with that. But I mean, if we can do a stipulation that there is a Greek revival, the
Yeah.
box returns or the eaves,
Yeah.
or you wanna call it.
Happy to
the
do that.
returns, and then reconsidering, some of the siding choices, I don't know how else.
And then would we submit plans to, just the revised plans to you from that perspective?
Certainly.
Yeah.
But you're also, if we do that, then it'd be, after the fact. Yeah. But then it's already, the ship is set. Right.
That's where in lies the rub, right?
Yeah,
We can put things in now, but we're not gonna see them if we finalize our vote tonight. And I understand their reasons for not wanting to delay.
Right.
I know it's a month, and,
but it's
I don't
also,
wanna delay them and tie it up either, so.
Could we still do that meeting on the, we had that date out there?
Fifth?
Oh, no time for that.
and you want to be done by next December or September?
Oh, we're hoping to be in by the summer.
The summer.
The summer.
Oh, then they
June.
need, that's different, they need a decision now.
Right.
Yeah, cause that's a tight schedule,
right, and that's,
and you know that.
oh, absolutely. Our
no.
builder's confident he can do it, but we'd have to do it now.
All right,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
So-
cause you're definitely,
Yeah.
minimum, well, it could be an 8-month build, yeah.
I'll be honest, it's, I mean, where it's Freeman and Hoyt and not
Yeah.
fronting on Bank, and the house is, I love the look of the house, the way
I
it's
do.
designed. I don't wanna make it look worse by forcing some Greek revival in there that isn't gonna fit where it's, where it doesn't really belong in that.
I think it could fit on the front, just on the returns.
Right.
And you have the Greek road, and then you just keep the shiplap. I think it's just too much glass to make clapboard work, but that's,
Okay, so then, does the board feel we're ready for a vote?
yes.
All right, then
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
So who makes the motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Julie seconded, motion's in order to close the public hearing, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion carries. So then we will entertain a motion on the, notice of intent, for a total demolition on HH 2021-16.
Motion to approve as presented with the one stipulation of the Greek revival detail at all the eve returns.
Turns.
So Greek revival
Greek
detail
revival
on the eve
returns.
returns. And is that on the Freeman Street side, the Hoyt Street side, both?
I mean, there's so much detail in the house, I would assume you're doing it everywhere.
Mhm.
on that detail.
Are you agreeable with that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So a motion's been made, is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion's been made by Brendan, seconded by Lynn to approve as presented with the one stipulation that Greek revival details are made on the eve returns on all sides. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion carries.
Then, yep.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Thanks for
appreciate
working
it.
that out, that's appreciated.
No, we appreciate it.
Appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda are minutes for September 15th, October 20th, and November 10th.
Sorry,
What?
all at once.
That's okay.
My name is still wrong.
Can we do them all together or separately? Motion to approve meeting minutes for September 15th, October 20th, November 10th for 2021.
And can I just stipulate with correcting the spelling on Lynn's name?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Lindsay.
So motion's been made by Brendan, is there a second?
Oh, she has to change my name too. You keep putting
Again?
an I in my last
Yeah.
name. Sorry.
It was all part of the.
So with
It's
the
okay.
two corrections on the names for Lynn and Julie, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none. And I'm gonna just ask, I don't think I asked for a second.
Oh, second.
Oh.
Perfect, thank you. So Brendan made the motion, Lynn seconded. It was unanimous. Okay, so we've got the meeting schedule that I know should be in front of me, but
Yeah. Do you need a motion for that?
can I take a look at it?
Yeah, sure.
I can't seem to pull it out.
What do you need?
Just the, yeah.
Oh.
It's in here somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
My lack of, I had a slotting meeting until midnight last night, so.
Is this what I found online the other day?
It probably would be, yes.
It should have been online, it's online.
May 18th, I would like to change because I suspect that is going to be day after election for me, so heading to maybe look at a different date for that.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna go the week before, the week after?
Uh,
Week after getting into Memorial Day, right?
I don't know.
We'll need to double check, cause I
Yeah,
think
you can check who's
town
on and
hall,
who's off.
town meetings
Okay,
and
sure.
elections and things.
I'm flexible, so.
September primary should be well before the 21st, and November 16th should be far enough away from our general.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that we want to meet the week of December 21st either. I think we probably want to move that week around.
I already know I won't be here for the June 15th meeting.
A week earlier or
For the which one?
later.
June 15th meeting, I will not be here. I will
You
not,
guys tell me what you want.
So can you look at what's available in May outside of that Wednesday? And then, see about pushing the December date, probably up a week.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
mhm.
So we're not at Christmas week.
Okay.
That would be great. So that can go back on our agenda for next month to approve. Would be good?
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, I'll be absent on the June 15th meeting.
And that's fine. I mean, it's not about, you
Yeah.
know, we're all volunteers, so
Right.
we're not expecting to do everything. I just, anything close to an election, I know
Yeah.
is probably not the best day for me. And, you know, if we have to miss one, we miss one.
Yeah. I won't even be in the country that day.
All right, so the next matter on our agenda is, a discussion on 707 Main Street, with the property owner on the certificate of non-applicability. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Hey, how you doing?
And your name is?
Dave Hagstrom.
Hello, Dave. So I think we probably had a situation of a lot of like little things that all kind of combined all at the same time, with some, I will say I should have been more clear in what we approved, and I think also just making sure that, you know, I think the original application was just painting, and once it went beyond the painting, because you were in the historic district, it should have been flagged that anything more than that, anything that rose to like demolition or anything above that really should have come back to us for a certificate of appropriateness. So, I think that's where we stand right at this point. Brendan, I know you've looked into this a lot, so
Yeah, I had a chance just to talk with the town planner about this and with Mary as well, and I just think your original application, you know, when you came to just paint the right side, obviously you expanded it and you pulled a permit and no work was done in between. So I understand the process, how you got there, and when you got to the building department, that application was given to them, they approved it based on the approval from the historic, but they don't go back and check the minutes, all the details and what we talked about. So ultimately, it just seems like you just applied for the wrong certificate, so it should be more of an appropriateness. That's all. But with that said, we would have made some decisions on materials that you would have used, because you are changing the materials. And that would be the jump from applicability to appropriateness.
Okay, yeah, and when I came here the first time, trust me, I didn't want to reside it, you know? My painting contractor showed up after a month, and he just said it would be a waste of money, you know?
Yeah, it
So
snowballed into a big project. We understand it.
Turned into this, and I went to see Patty, and
Yeah, so our concern, if you were in front of us, we would have said that the material would have to be like for like, or a wood material, whether it be.
well, not necessarily.
No, yeah, with the option, well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I was gonna say, you know, I don't know that it would have had to have been wood. We could have approved AZAC as long as it was painted and the screw holes were filled and all of that
But,
too.
right, but because it's the district, we've been really, and not that every property is unique, so, but other properties around the area, we have been doing all wood on the facades, on the fronts. So, but in this case, since it's already up, you know, we're not gonna obviously make you take it down. What we like to see treated with AZAC is that you don't use the plugs after you do the Cortex screws and you put your plugs in. What we prefer is that it's just filled with basic painter's Bondo, and it's fully painted. We just wanna make sure the AZAC product, and the reason being is those little rings can show up and then,
And they work their
20
way.
years from now,
Yes.
it looks like plastic, PVC, AZAC, and you see it, rather than, there's a way to make it look like it's not that.
yes, and they didn't,
I drove by today, they did not fill the holes,
right.
so.
Now I have to, because of the time of the year and because of the process took so long,
Yeah.
that bounced my painting contractor out, but that was his intention to
Yeah. And I'm sure they
Paint
use
the-
stainless steel screws, so it should make it through the winter fine.
Yeah.
So,
But that's his intention, to fill it and paint
So
it.
the only thing I think we kind of do need to do to kind of complete the file is have you fill out a certificate of appropriateness. And we'll have to just go through the process. So obviously it's already been done, but we need you to kind of do the correct application with the building department, so that we'll go through the process,
Over again.
So that's all we're asking for, just
Yeah,
a
we'll give
new
you an
application for just
And I
precedent.
can give it to
Yeah.
Patty and,
Yeah.
That's all.
And
Great.
it's kind of an after the fact thing. We recognize that, listen, I will admit freely that, that the way we signed off on it, also didn't include any details, because we thought it was, just painting, and I understand, when you come in, there was already historic approval, so without,
Yeah.
without enough details, it can get
Right.
confusing as to
Right.
what we've actually approved,
yeah,
So we all need to do a better job of that on our side as well, so.
yeah, whatever you need. I just didn't,
Yeah.
my intention is to do the right thing with the building,
Yeah.
And I want it to look good,
And and I think it will look good once it's done, so, but to Brendan's point, when we have allowed AZAC, and we have an occasion,
Yep.
when we have allowed it, we've made the stipulations that it needed to be, puttied
Yeah.
and
Puttied and
fully
painted.
painted instead
Yep.
of using
the plugs.
The
Yeah.
plugs, exactly.
Yeah.
So-
And that's my intention,
So
so,
we'd just like to, if you can do that paperwork, that would be great,
okay.
so that we can, it'll complete the file, it'll correct the file, we'll go through the process and,
Okay,
and
so
then we'll correct it.
then do I come back to him, fill out the form and come back to a meeting, or?
So
You wouldn't have to
won't-
come
You
back.
probably won't have to come back to the meeting, we just wanna make sure that we'll
Okay.
go through the motions and open a public hearing and close a public hearing, and we'll
Okay.
we'll make our rulings at the time.
You wouldn't.
Yeah,
All right, perfect.
we just wanna make sure that it's,
Everything's in order.
exactly, it's really correcting the file.
Okay,
And at the same time, we understand that sometimes things, when you're going through projects, Brendan's probably the first one to tell you, things more over time, and it's,
yeah,
But with that said, I think we would have leaned towards this possibility, because I know even with Bob, it would have been to use a wood material, whether it be lifespan or some pressure treated.
yeah, and the majority of the front, because basically, the instruction I gave to the contractor was because the left side had been renovated or repaired prior to I bought it, but you could see it was actually kind of nice, and the right side wasn't, so I just asked him to match it,
Right.
And most of the stuff I can't recreate or replace because it's the ornate trim, so that has to be left and just repainted.
Yeah, and that's great, and that's something we would have asked.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like the AZAC behind the electrical meters, that's something I would probably say yes to all day long. I think if you're gonna
Yeah.
take the meters off, so you never have to do it again, I would-
oh,
I would
yeah,
definitely
hire
put
the
AZAC
electrician,
there.
yeah,
So that I understand, that application.
yeah,
But yes, whatever you can keep on the building for detail, we would have suggested that, and then potentially would, but in this case, the AZAC, since it's already there.
yeah. And he's,
As long as it's painted and filled the correct way and
Okay.
not the Cortex caps, you'd be fine.
right, okay, and that'll be done according to his schedule this spring when the weather gets warmer.
Great,
perfect.
awesome.
So yeah, just, if you can get to the building department, this week or next, and kind of
Okay.
paperwork filled out,
I'll,
so we can get that started, all
I'll
right?
take care of that this week.
Thank you very much for coming in tonight, I appreciate it.
Thanks for not yelling at me.
We understand.
Patty, thank you for getting.
Yep, thanks for
None
being
of us are
here.
perfect.
Actually,
All right, Bob's not here, so we really don't have much to say on the property study. The only thing I can really say about, reports from commission members on my side is really the, CPC is still looking at applications. We will potentially start voting on them in, January. So our next meeting, it is possible that we will start start voting, we do have an application again for, the cemetery off of 137, it's Church Street, for that church. So the, cemetery commission has applied to do those stones and, clean them and restore them.
This is the
So-
Methodist church,
The one that's on the corner of Church Street.
across
Yeah.
from the vet?
And Oakland, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Methodist church.
So, that's really the CPC report, we'll start voting. If anybody's interested, the applications are online on the CPC website. So if you go to Community Preservation Committee page, you can, hyperlink into any one of those applications and see what's going on in them. And like I said, voting starts in January. Planning is,
Is that page on the town website?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's under the boards and commissions tab. And then, planning, really, John, I had asked the, planning board if, about commenting on the parallel street house, so I'm glad to see he did, chime in. And
Yeah, that was nice
give
one,
some-
yeah.
And give some comments there, so, not much else to report on my end.
Can I ask a question for
Absolutely.
the town meeting in the spring? Do you think our demo bylaw update will be there?
The selectmen have already agreed to put it on,
Okay.
so they voted that already. So it will be on the town warrant for the spring. I believe it may go back to, town council for some additional vetting, on some of the provisions, but, the expectation is that will be on this year, in the spring.
Nice.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. And also just, sorry to point out, John Agman is our new town planner, has graciously offered to provide us some more guidance than we've received in years past. So, I do think, I've had a brief conversation with him about some of our applications, and, he did make a good point, from a legal perspective, you probably don't want your application to be your decision. So typically your decision is a separate whole document with your criteria and your findings of fact and everything else.
Yeah,
So he's actually offered to, excuse me,
All right.
he's actually offered to, try and, come up with some standard template forms, for us to use in that respect.
Oh, nice.
That'd be good.
And I also think it'd be good to, ask him to come in January, February to really kind of give us some guidance on some of the things that we are doing, some of the things we can do better, and, I appreciate the 2 cents, because,
Yeah.
he certainly, is a font of experience and knowledge, so, I'd like to do that for one of our next agendas, I don't know whether it's January or
Yeah,
February.
that would be great. And I spoke with him today too. He's a great guy and just willing to help and even touch base on our guidelines too.
Mhm.
And, instead of having, 30 pages, we can maybe condense that and simplify it. Because it was taken from another town as well. Maybe it's just something we should look over and just try to simplify the process.
Absolutely.
But that does make sense, rather, saying as presented, or just presented.
Right.
would be, I think it makes some more sense.
Right. So, I'm, like, as I had said, I'm happy to take any guidance offered to, improve what we do. So, improve our processes and improve our, because whatever we do is gonna help the building department when those applications come in. And looking at the file, I can absolutely see why somebody he would have come in for a building permit application, and somebody may have just said, oh yeah, it's already gone to historic, so here, where,
Right.
where the details weren't specifically laid out.
Yeah, so the building department's not going to the minutes and checking the video.
And we shouldn't expect them
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
honest.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
so that's, I think, a failing on our paperwork that, we can certainly fix by improving, so. And I do think ultimately, the Records building is gonna look better,
Oh,
once,
yeah.
once it's done,
Yeah.
so, and
Yeah,
that's, and
So
that's
what
really
what happened there?
originally the application was just to paint.
Just to paint it, I
Just to
remember
paint the
that.
right side,
Yeah.
and then they didn't paint that right away, then they decided it needs more work. So they went for a building application that had more description than what we,
Oh, and it
approved.
bypassed us, we never.
Well, and then, of course, he had, it was like, well, we did go to historic and check the box, and in this case, it wasn't, but anyways, it was issued. So they just did the work, because they had the approval, and it was just.
So it was more than what, would have been approved, but I do think it was kind of a perfect storm
Yeah.
of little things that all came together and it happened, but, again,
But they have every right to do those repairs, not even really coming in front of us, but once they change the material, so.
Then it makes
So
a
anything
difference.
that's like for like doesn't have to come before us.
Yeah.
So if you are replacing cedar shingles with cedar shingles in the same color and the same everything, you wouldn't have to come before us. If they wanted to repaint the building the same color that it's painted now, they wouldn't have to come before us. As soon as anything is changed in that,
Yeah.
the materials, the paint color, the anything like that, in the historic district, they have to come back.
Mhm.
And I think that was just a lapse along the
Yeah.
way, so.
Yep.
And then a quick report from the Affordable Housing Trust. We're getting there on our properties. We had a little glitch where some paperwork wasn't signed over to us, so now we have possession of those properties. But Sisson Road is something that we're working on near the junior theater,
Mhm.
that piece of property. And we also bought a very big, it's 12+ acres at the top of Pleasant Lake Ave. As you get exit 10, look across the street, there's a new yellow gate, all that land behind there. So, yeah, exciting stuff happening there as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
It would
Good
be
to
nice
know.
if it wasn't all single-family homes.
What was that?
It'd be nice if it wasn't all single-family homes.
Well, we still have a lot of work to do on that property with the site plan, subdivision,
Yeah.
there's a lot of land there to figure out what can and cannot go there.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a process, but that's gonna be the first thing you see when you get off exit 10 now,
Mhm.
or 82. So I'll try to,
Whatever the number is now,
I think it's 82, right? We should know that,
I
right?
have no idea.
It's been
Not
six,
mine.
it's
I
been
think I'm
almost a year.
11's 85, I think, but yet as you're coming off the exit,
It's
it says,
82.
it says mile marker 80.
I'm 9,
I-
okay? I'm always gonna be 9. I don't care what anybody
Yep.
says,
It
it's
says
9.
mile marker 84, and I'm
And
like,
it's
but
not
it's.
9 and 90, it's 9.
9.
Yep.
Anyways, yeah, but that's, we're moving forward, and we've got a lot of great properties we can do some good things with. So.
Yay.
I saw that
think
there's,
there's much, anything else?
May I ask, do you want me to put John on for January meeting? We'll have the 2 hearings and then have John for the remainder?
That'd be great.
I'm sure, if he's available and if he's not, tell him he can pick a day that it's best to come in. for him,
I'll try
so.
for the 19th,
Yeah.
for the January meeting, and then if not, we'll try for
Yeah,
February.
and we can maybe talk about what we can do together, and maybe
Yeah,
in a couple.
he will be a very good resource for us to rely on. It'll be nice to have some, the department's been so busy that, we can use the.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel I can use the guidance,
Yeah.
I'll speak for myself.
do we have any time limits on,
Yes. Yes. There are time limits on when people file and when we need to hold hearings and certain ones, so.
yeah, I just felt very uncomfortable with the rush that, we've got to get this demolished and we've got to start building now.
We have to walk a fine line with some of that stuff.
I
Right, so-
understand, I realize that, but it's, we're doing it this way, and it's not, it didn't even seem like complete plans that we got, because we all didn't get them, and.
Well, the plans weren't in the packet. We could have kicked it, to next month. But, the goal is, just with every resident, we want them to have a good
Right,
experience.
no, I totally
And that's what I
understand
struggle
that,
with.
but,
I didn't want to tell the last gentleman to take his trim down and replace it
Right.
with wood.
right,
Obviously, we have to, pick our battles, but I think, I don't know, if you look at our track record the last year or two, we've done some good things with some places.
Oh,
It really kicked
absolutely.
off with 7-Eleven. If you were here for how that came here, the first drawing, it was an exact replica of the Christie's building, and what
Mm.
the board did, and I wasn't on the board at the time, what they did, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
To actually walk through the process and get that building out of what they were really proposing.
Right.
So I think you pick your battles and, I mean, yeah, we could have kicked it, but they would have came back with maybe some clapboard that returns. I mean,
Right.
what we're gonna really
So it was a
get.
nice compromise that,
I guess so.
Came
It's either you're not, because we can only knock it down, we can say yes or no to we can't
Right.
really design properties.
right,
It's nice when they are willing to work with us.
Yeah.
But it's all about compromise, and it's really about them being agreeable. You know, we had a similar situation in planning board at one of our last meetings. What the neighbors were asking us to, and asking them to, the applicant to do, we didn't have the authority to require, but council and the applicants agreed, so, it was a nice compromise, so, like to keep that same kind of feeling before the board, because again, there's a lot of steps.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
And plus, we could just say no, do the 12-month delay, and they could build
And we get
they could build a glass house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
true,
this way, if you have it here and you make the approval, and
right.
it's contingent on that, it's better than just someone building what they want. So it's sometimes this stuff.
You'll be at the selectmen's meeting on Monday?
I'm gonna be at the selectmen's meeting on Monday.
I'll sit in
and-
the audience for you.
And thank you, and Patty is hopefully gonna be able to pull together some
Some notes?
notes and numbers.
Now, can we all come, or is that an open meeting violation?
We can notice it as a meeting.
Yeah, so you have to just, we
So
all
we
can't
can
just show
notice
up.
it as a meeting, just
So that's Monday?
Well, I think on the email, it said that am I the vice chair?
Yeah, I think you are.
So it says that the vice chair can go.
I didn't
So-
receive that email as the board secretary. Could somebody
Oh, can we,
forward it?
I got forward it to you, Patty. Yep.
Yeah. You got my email today, right? I sent an email around requesting that, if you could pull together some of that.
I gave you I sent it back to you.
Okay,
I responded,
I haven't been on my email
Right.
all day, so that's all.
yes.
So that was just my question, so I can do that, for tomorrow.
That's Ellen Powell's email, I think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so,
Okay.
yes, so the hearing with the Board of Selectmen is Monday. I expect us to be under 3 minutes, submit the report and say hello.
And bye-bye.
We need members and,
Okay,
we need alternates and,
Well, it was on Facebook,
right,
yeah.
and that's, really, I don't think there'll be too much more than that, but,
Do I post, is everyone attending or is it
I would
only
like
two?
you to, if you wouldn't mind, post it anyway, just in case.
Yeah, because I might show, let me put it on my calendar.
Then just in case we have a quorum, we're covered. Not that we're gonna deliberate, but it's always safer to post than to not,
Would you
Oh,
want
for
me to
Monday?
come?
for Monday.
Today's Wednesday,
Yep,
Thursday.
Yep.
Do you need me to come?
No, you don't have to.
No.
No, it's just,
It just, the memo specifies that the chair and the vice chair can go. It doesn't have to be, I think, posted
So to
as a
the-
meeting.
correct. It's in the event that a quorum would be present in the room, you would wanna notice it, for belts and suspenders to make sure that you're covered, and that it's not deemed an open meeting law violation.
Mhm.
So, if you wouldn't mind doing that, Patty, for tomorrow morning, that would be great.
Yeah.
And I'll send you the email when I get home tonight.
Yes, thank you.
And I don't think there's anything else other than to wish you all a happy holidays, Merry Christmas,
Same
Happy
You
Merry-
too,
Merry
same
Christmas.
to
Happy
you.
Kwanzaa,
Happy everything.
whatever we celebrate. Happy New Year even too, because we won't see each other before then.
Happy Festivus.
There you go. So, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn?
Julius made the motion, who's made the second?
Second?
Brendan, all those in favor?
Aye.
None in opposition, we are adjourned.
Excellent.
And Patty, could you turn off the